Design inspiration, real-life makeovers, and the latest in pop culture. This is the Uploft Interior Design Podcast with Betsy Helmuth.
Hi! It's supposed to be summer, and yet it's 60 degrees outside, torrential rains, there was flash flooding. It's been a lot, guys. It's been a lot. I hope you're having a good summer. I hope that it's warmer where you are. Luckily, I haven't rented a beach house or anything like that, so this weather, while it's dampened my spirits, has not dampened any vacations. But I do hope to go somewhere soon, and I hope it doesn't get washed out by another hurricane like last year at Ocean City, Maryland. This year we're going back to one of our faves, Newport, Rhode Island, where I will make my children tour a Gilded Age mansion. I will make my children go to the beach with me. I will leave my teenagers in the room so that they can be on video games while I do yet another beach session by myself. I will take them to seafood restaurants where they will eat no seafood. It's going to be a good time. Going to be a great time. I have another big announcement. Guys, there are legitimately no questions in this mailbag. This mailbag is empty as can be. This is great news for those of you who are gearing up to do a renovation, who are spending the summer thinking about ways to change their home so that way when it's back to school time, they can get back in action. Well, if you are in the planning phase of a design project, now is the perfect time to send me an email. All you have to do is go to uploft.com/podcast. Once again, that's uploft.com/podcast. There you're going to see a form. Quickly fill it out. Let me know what you're working on. Send me pictures, and I will answer your interior design question completely free on the air on an upcoming episode. There's never been a better time, so write to me right now. And in the meanwhile, I'm going to dig into my design diary and tell you about a few projects I'm working on. And I'm also going to be talking about Netflix's The Ultimatum. I feel like there's not much on TV right now. Married at First Sight, certainly I'll be covering that once we're a few more episodes in. Project Runway, okay, does anybody care anymore? I do, but I think I'm the last of the Project Runway fanatics. But The Ultimatum, well, it gets a lot of press every time, and I have some thoughts after binging the first 4 episodes, so I'm excited to share with you very soon. Before we talk about The Ultimatum, I want to talk about my design clients. I am working on lots of projects. Tomorrow, I'm going to the plastic surgeon's office to see how the renovations are coming. Tomorrow afternoon, I have a client in a 1-bedroom on the Upper West Side. In between, I'm going to go see Buena Vista Social Club on Broadway. It's going to be an action-packed day. I'm also training a new designer who's coming along with me to my second client. We're actually going to split it 50-50. So that way I can see her in action with the clients. That way we're co-leading the project so she can get a sense of what it feels like to manage her own projects. And then we'll take it from there. But let's talk about the reveal call I just had. So when I share presentations with clients, I do it over Zoom. I screen share and I guide them through first a spreadsheet, then I show them mood boards, then I show them a floor plan. Then we open it up to questions, comments, feedback, but it really is quite a presentation. And of course, I spend days and hours working on it ahead of time to make sure that I wow them. So this client was very particular. She wanted no Wayfair. She wanted only room and board, restoration hardware, crate and barrel, West Elm. But her budget for a living room, a dining area, and a family room, as well as her primary bedroom, was tight at $25,000. Like those stores, you got to ante up a little bit. And it was difficult to say the least. And then some of the rugs that she needed, because the apartment had such odd angles and indentations, had to be very specific sizes. A 9 by 12 just would not work. We needed an 8.6 by 11.6. A 6 by 9 just would not work. We needed a 5.5 wide by over 9 feet long. I mean, these were the restrictions I was working with, and you're not going to find any of those funky rug sizes at any of the big box stores. So while I was presenting to my client, I had to educate her at the same time of, I know you gave me restrictions of avoid these kind of lesser known retailers, but we need lesser known items to fit this wacky space. So it was really a negotiation. And one thing that came up, a great question she asked, is that while we were doing the presentation for the living space, it was opening up to the entryway. And she said, you know what, I didn't mention it ahead of time, but I would like a rug in the entryway. I said, oh, okay. We were working virtually. She's in Michigan, so I never actually saw her space. And I was kind of taking her lead as to not only the dimensions of the space, but what she wanted. Sometimes when I'm in a space, I can think outside of what they want and say, what about this? Or I could really envision this here. But when you're working off of a floor plan in a video, it's kind of hard to fill in the blanks because having an entry rug means that you have clearance under your main door for a rug, which I can't test for when I'm not there. And when I do test, I do my trademarked toe test, where I jam my big toe under the door. And if it doesn't fit, it means that a rug with a rug pad won't fit either. I like to be very conservative, and I do have a very narrow big toe. Anyway, we were talking about that entry rug. I, of course, told her about my toe test. And then I said to her, we have a very big rug in the living area, and it's going to be close, within 18 inches to this entry area. And she said, well, should I just do the same rug? I do not do the same rug. It looks like a large remnant that you cut in half and bound to 2 different sizes. You have to be mindful that you're going to do 2 different rugs that need to go together, but are not the same, which can be very challenging. In fact, this was a U-shaped space, like a horseshoe, where the living room opened up into a dining room that curved around, the kitchen opened up to a family room that curved back around. I had 3 rugs that all needed to go together because it was an open space, but they needed to look very different. And they also needed to have different functionality because the one under the dining area had to be quite stain resistant. I always love, when I'm faced with a situation like this, to do at least 1 rug totally neutral. It takes the pressure off of me to have to match the different colors, that exact shade of emerald green, that exact tone of mauve. Takes that pressure off and gives me a little break also from such bright, bold, or even lively patterns. Anyway, that's what I wound up doing for her. I did like a mauve colored rug that had very subtle striations in the living room. In the dining room, we did this beige performance rug that had like these cream kind of linear shapes on it. And then in the family room, we continued the linear shapes, but it had like a foundation of sage or almost spa green, like these 2 different tones of green. And the color palette we were working with the inspiration piece, which was hung right above the dining area, which we could clearly see from both the living, the family, and the entryway, shared these different colors from many shades of green: olive, sage, even Kelly. Then we had pinks, mauves, even purples. And then it had a smattering of other colors too, but those were the dominant colors in the artwork. So that gave me that palette that I was working from. And so I was thinking to myself, what would that entry rug be if I had to choose it? And what I'd want to do is I would want to combine the mauve with the greens in some way, or the beiges with like the mauves, but I wouldn't arbitrarily bring the green to this side, considering the living area is right next to this entry and it was featuring the mauve. We didn't really see the green come into play till the dining and then family areas. So that was what was on my mind. And that's sort of how I instructed her. But the takeaway is, don't buy multiples of the same rug, even if they're in different sizes. Let me get to my next client. Oh my goodness. This client is facing challenges. They are moving into a rental apartment in New York City. They need a big apartment because they have a live-in nanny. They have 2 tween girls. He's a very busy restaurateur who's gone a lot, and she is a high-powered exec who's gone even more. Their life is so busy, and they're downsizing from a large apartment in Chelsea and moving to a large but maybe less intuitive apartment on the Upper East Side. And the challenge that they're facing is that they're renting from somebody who has a lot of restrictions. For instance, this previous family, who are the owners of the unit, they did a ton of Venetian plaster. So Venetian plaster all throughout the main living area and hallway. And that's a creamy tone. But then they did a different tone of Venetian plaster in the primary bedroom that's like almost a lime green. Much more vibrant than a sage, but less saturated than a Kelly. Anyway, it's a lot of look. And because it's Venetian plaster and such a delicate treatment, they don't want very much drilling in the walls. So the client was completely barred from making big changes to those particular walls. They were able to paint the other walls in the girls' bedrooms and things like that. Well, this place also had very large custom drapes. Now, these people are just renting. So these drapes, I would want to reuse them, except they had been literally shredded by daylight. And it was clear that there was some water damage in the space. So the silk of these drapes had also been soiled from the water. Good luck getting that out. We really needed to fully replace these drapes. And ideally, we wouldn't have to take down the track that they're on. But of course, this client is renting and they don't want to spend tens of thousands of dollars on new drapes. So what I was recommending is that we go with one of these semi-custom sites, like 2 Pages, in this case is the one I'm looking at, where you can choose the length and width. You can choose how it adheres to the track, but the fabric choices are more limited and the styles are more limited, which makes it more affordable. So we're going to do 2 Pages, but we still need very precise measurements. It's a whole thing. And then she was trying to have the girls share this bedroom so that the nanny could have the other bedroom. And getting 2 tween girls who each want their privacy, who have very different styles. One is sporty, one is beachy. To live in the same room while having a separation, while having 2 desks, while having storage, while sharing 1 closet, and then hoping to fit in a dresser. It's a tall order. Now, speaking of tall, these ceilings are very high, which was super exciting to work with, but they refused to let me crawl up. No loft beds, no beds with drawers underneath. We were going to have to make this footprint work while putting everything on the floor. It's challenging, I tell you what. And I pushed. Here's my rule as a designer. If you guys are designers working with clients, or even if you're trying to decide what to do and compromise with a spouse, my recommendation is that you push 3 times. So one time I said, are you sure you don't want a loft bed? Your girls are 10 and 12, and it would allow you to do everything you want to do without compromising, and it would make the room feel so much more spacious. No, we don't want that. 2, could we even just put a couple drawers under so that it's not a true loft, it's just slightly raised so we can forego a little dresser space? No. Do we have to use 40-inch desks? Could we use like a smaller desk that's a ladder desk that has bookshelves or kind of storage up top? So that way we're using the verticality of the space. No, we're reusing the desks they already have that are just standard desks. After I got shut down 3 times, I waved that white flag and I just completely got on board with what they wanted to do. And we've had to make quite a few compromises. For instance, doing 2 small chest of drawers, in other words, lingerie chests, rather than doing one larger dresser with deeper, wider drawers. I have lots of feelings and thoughts, but as I remind my clients whenever I work with somebody, I'm not going to move in here with you, so I don't personally have an investment in the plan that you choose. I just really want it to work for you. There we go, guys. That's just a day in the life of me as an interior designer. Now let's segue. Let's talk about what people are watching, because there's nothing else to watch this summer. People are watching The Ultimatum on Netflix. I have lots of thoughts and feelings. First of all, while this season is getting a rap for being pretty boring, like not enough hookups, and for those of you who don't know the premise is that these people are giving their partners ultimatums. So whether they're dating for a couple of years or been together for 6 years, whether they're 23 or 36, one of the people in the couple has given an ultimatum. I need a ring, I need a wedding date, or we're over. Sometimes it's the girl who's giving the ultimatum, sometimes it's the boy. In this particular season, there's no same-sex couples. I don't think I've seen a same-sex couple in The Ultimatum at all. They might have a different version, but I'm not sure. So anyway, apparently, word is on the street that this season is kind of boring because what they do is they break up from their partner and they wound up coupling with other partners in the experiment. And when they couple with that other partner, with somebody else's boyfriend or somebody else's now ex-girlfriend, well, they call it a pretend marriage or a trial marriage. So these people are living together, sleeping in the same bed, even though they just met each other. They're trying to find chemistry. They're trying to find a reason to stay together or to kind of give their other partnership a run for its money, to make their other partner jealous so that they go the distance and ask the person ultimately to marry them. Or maybe they determine that person's not right for them and they move on. So there was a big scandal. And spoiler alert, it's coming for you. So make sure you tune out if you're going to tune in and haven't seen this yet. But I thought that this big scandal, they turned it into such a thing, was so contrived. I do not think that what we saw is what actually happened. I know you guys are like, it's reality TV, Betsy. It's never what actually happened. But this one felt so fake. And I usually play into it, but I just couldn't see through this. Or I couldn't not see through this, this time around. So Jebin, a young gentleman, passes his ex-girlfriend a note during the experiment that is basically saying that no matter what happens, I'm not going to marry you. This experiment just isn't working, blah, blah, blah. Now, the producers held this big symposium and they basically outed Jebin. They said that he passed his ex-girlfriend a note. They revealed the contents of that note. And then they kicked them both out of the experiment. Now, Jebin was a problem already. I think he was in his early 20s. Don't be locking down this guy. He was so problematic, superficial, immature. Who wants him anyway? Before they couple you up and have you be with your trial marriage partner that you just met, they kind of do some chemistry convos so you get together and talk. He had no chemistry with anyone. I think they kicked him out of the show early because nobody wanted to be with him and nobody wanted to be with Alex. Alex was fine. But basically, they both have to partner up in order to move forward. And I feel like everybody rejected Jebin, and so they found a different reason to kick him off. I don't think it was anything about that note. And that's just my hot take. So then the other thing that's happening is that Ashley and Killian are having an issue. So Killian was partnered with, oh my gosh, I can't keep all of these people straight. Killian was partnered with Blake's ex. And what was her name? Oh my gosh. Hold on. I got to ask ChatGPT. I can't remember all these people's names because I'm always, Haley, there we go. I'm always watching while I'm interior designing. So I was literally watching this while I was picking out those rugs I just talked about. So, I'm not always totally focused. But what happened is that Haley was so into Killian, who came initially with Ashley. She was like, he would make a great partner, blah, 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 blah. And then we started to see some cracks because she peeked over his shoulder or something and saw what he was texting to his friends. And he was basically saying disgraceful things, like borderline sexual assault things about Haley on his phone. And he said it was just his friends saying it, but he wasn't telling them to stop saying it. He himself was partaking in sort of a problematic way, if not overtly like game over way. And so anyway, he got called out. His texts were read aloud. They were made available to his ex, Ashley, who's still completely smitten over him, who wants to give him 16,000 chances. And for me, this was a place where I thought the production of the show went a little awry. The fact that Haley would have to spend another night, even one more night, in the same apartment with her fake husband, who she just met, Killian, who's obviously saying really horrible things about what he wants to do to her, what he would have done to her, what his friends would like to do to her. I would not feel safe. I would not want to be on this show anymore. And you guys know I'm not like a total prude. I mean, I worked at a Coyote Ugly bar for 3 years. I've had lots of dating experience. I think I dated half of Manhattan at one point in search of my husband. It was worth the wait. But this was so problematic that I cannot believe they're continuing to house them in the same apartment. I cannot believe that there wasn't more intervention from the actual show itself. They're basically letting Ashley say she'll give him as many chances as he needs. They're letting Killian say that everything's been taken out of context. They're letting Haley say that she doesn't think he's a bad guy. He just did bad things. That's fine, but you don't even know who he is. You met him a week ago. Get out of the apartment with him. Move to an adjacent apartment. Have a trial marriage, sure, and then have a trial separation. Have a trial divorce. But get away from this guy who's talking about and objectifying you in a way that's downright dangerous. Anyway, guys, it's definitely holding my attention. I'm definitely excited to get back and watch more, but I'm also waiting for Married at First Sight to step it up with more episodes, so I have a different distraction. It was great talking to you again this week. Don't hesitate to send me your design questions, Betsy that's my email, which of course you can email me, but the better way, the way where you can send me pictures and answer questions that I need answers to in order to best reply to your question, is to head over to uploft.com/podcast, uploft.com/podcast, and I'll be answering your design dilemmas on the next episode. For now, bye.
A big thanks to our producer, Jeremy Young, and to Aton and the Embassy for our theme music. And shout out to our parent company, Uploft Interior Design, your trusted source for expert interior design. Visit uploft.com to explore our services and book a consultation with one of our talented designers. If you're enjoying the Uploft Interior Design Podcast, please support us by sharing the show with friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It's the best way to help new listeners find us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with more pro tips and pop culture dish.